All right, so in today's lesson, we are going to prove that two triangles are congruent. So earlier today or yesterday, you saw how to write congruent statements if you know that two triangles are congruent. Today, we're going to use congruent statements to prove two triangles are congruent. And there's 5 ways to prove that you have congruent triangles. The first way to do this is side, side, side. So if you know for certain that side AB is congruent to XY, so you say AB is congruent to XY, and then you can say that AC is congruent to XZ, and you can say that BC is congruent, line segment BC is congruent to YZ, then you can say for certain that these two triangles are going to be congruent. And so what you would say is that triangle ABC is congruent to, and it's going to be extremely important that we write it in exactly the same order. So angle A corresponds to X, angle B corresponds to Y, and then angle C corresponds to Z. So if in fact you know all 3 sides are congruent, then you can say for certain that these two triangles are congruent as well. Another way is side, angle, side. So you have to include an angle, and it has to be in the middle. So it has to be between the 2 sides. So for example, if I knew for certain that DE is congruent to MN, and I know that angle E is congruent to angle N, and then I would have to have information that says that angle EF is also congruent to NO. So if I know that line segment DE is congruent to line segment, again, D and M correspond, so I have to start with, oops, sorry, not ME, I want MN. So if I know line segment DE is congruent to line MN, and I know that angle E is congruent to angle N, and I have to have this third piece of information, that line segment EF is congruent to line segment NO. If I know these 3 pieces of information, then I can say that triangle DEF is congruent to triangle MNO, and it would be by side, angle, side. So that's how we write it, because we don't want to write the whole letters out because we're mathematicians and that's too much for us. All right, our third form is angle, side, angle. So it has to include the side, and again, the side has to be between the 2 angles. So if I know for certain that angle J is congruent to angle R, and I know for certain that angle L is congruent to angle T, and I know for certain that this side is congruent to this side, then you'll see that we have an angle, a side, and an angle. And then we can say for certain that both of these triangles are going to be congruent to each other. So first I would say angle J, this is my congruence statement, is congruent to angle R. They correspond to each other. I can say that angle L is congruent to angle T. Therefore, the side in between them, JL, is congruent to RT. Then I can say for certain that these 2 triangles, JKL, is congruent to triangle RST. And I would say this by using angle, side, angle. All right, I think we're on, let's see, 1, 2, 3. This is our 4th proof that 2 triangles are congruent. And this would be angle, angle, side. How this looks, if I said, for example, now this time the side's not in between, it's next to. So if I said angle B is congruent to angle Y, angle C is congruent to angle C, and then I know that these sides were congruent, we got an angle, and then a side, then I could say for certain that these 2 triangles are congruent. So I'm going to write my congruent statements. Angle B is congruent, to angle Y. Angle C is congruent to angle Z. And then I know that line segment AC is congruent to line segment XZ. So then I can say for certain that triangle ABC is going to be congruent to triangle XYZ. And again, this is because of angle, side. You can probably also say side, angle, but we'll just keep it like this for now. So and this is our final proof. If you know, this is only for right triangles. You cannot use this for any other triangle. But if you know a hypotenuse and a leg, so let's remember, from earlier we learned how to calculate the distance of a diagonal, and we said you have to use A, B, and C. Well, C is always your hypotenuse, and either A or B is going to be a leg. So let's say, for example, we know side length A is congruent to side length A over here, and we know that side length C is congruent to the side length over here. Then we can say for certain that these two triangles are also going to be congruent. Please remember that this only works for right triangles. And the way you know it's a right triangle is if you look in the corner, you'll see that little symbol that says it is a right triangle. Or there'll be some information spelled out that says these two triangles are right triangles. So all you need are two congruent statements for right triangles. So if I said that side length GF is congruent to UV, and then I know that GH is congruent to UW, then I can say for certain that these right triangles, GFH is congruent to UVW. But again, triangle UVW. But again, this only works for right triangles, so don't try to work it for something else. And please note, when you look at the abbreviations, we have 5 types of proofs. Please remember there's side is 1. The second one is side, angle, side. The third one is angle, side, angle. The fourth one is angle, angle, side. There is no angle, side, side. Ha, 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 because that would be inappropriate. And then the fifth one is the one we're on, which is we call the hypotenuse leg theorem, HL. Again, there is no angle, side, side. That's not one of our proofs. She's silly. All right, so theorems that don't prove congruence. This is where we're going to see this one. All right, let's take a look at this. If we know all 3 angles, you can't prove that the triangles are congruent, because in this case, we know that angle 30 is congruent to angle 30, 120 here, come on man, is congruent to 120 here, and then these 30s are congruent as well. But these are not, these are similar triangles. So there is no angle, angle, angle. That doesn't exist. And the other one I was talking about is angle, side, side. There is no angle, side, side. That doesn't exist either. You have to have either angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side. There's no angle, side, side. All right, moving on. Just listen. There's marks you can make from previous knowledge. So let's take a look at these. You don't have to write anything down at this time, but we're going to look at some and then you'll get to practice them on your own. So for example, I know that this angle here is congruent to this angle here. And the reason I know that is because they are vertical angles. So even though that's not been shown on this drawing, I can include those because I know those are vertical angles. And therefore, what I have here are 2 angles and a side. So I would say that these 2 triangles are congruent because of angle, angle, side. All right, here at number 2, I can say for certain that they share this side. So therefore, this side is going to be congruent for both angles. And so what I have here is a hypotenuse and a leg. These are right triangles, so I can say that these two triangles are going to be congruent by hypotenuse and leg, not by angle side side. Nice try, you just want me to write that on the board again. No, it's not angle side side, it's hypotenuse and a leg, because I know that these are right triangles. And once again, for number 3, I see that they share this side in common. So I can say for certain, even though it's not marked, I can say that that is going to be congruent on both triangles because it's obvious. And so here again, we have angle, side, angle. Angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. So I would say these are congruent by angle, side, angle. But I had to make the mark. Here we go with another one. Here we know that this is a 90-degree angle. And this one's also going to be a 90-degree angle because of vertical angles. You can see the X right there. So I also know for certain those two angles are congruent. And I've got my hypotenuse, which is right here, across, and I've got a leg. So because of hypotenuse-leg theorem, I can say that those two are congruent. And so this is the skill that I want you to be able to do by the time you leave class today, is to see a triangle and determine its congruence. And so let's take a look. Let's prove that these triangles are congruent. I'm going to go ahead and do the odds with you. You'll pause the video, and then you'll be able to do the evens. So for number 1, all I see is an angle and a side that are marked. So I know that I got to look deeper. And I see right here, this side is shared by both triangles. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that as well. And then I see that we've got side, angle, side. I see a side, an angle, and a side. So I'm going to say that these two triangles are congruent because it's side, angle, side. Again, for number 3, I look and I'm making my marks and I see, wait a minute, only 2 things are congruent. But then what I notice is that this side is also shared. And so what I see are 3 congruent sides. Actually, I should probably mark that. I'll mark 4 lines. And so I see 3 congruent sides, so I can say for certain that these 2 triangles are congruent because of side, side, side. And then number 5, I got to go ahead and fill in the information. I know I see vertical angles, so I'm going to go ahead and fill in here. These are both 90-degree angles. So I'm going to think to myself, oh, okay, it's going to be hypotenuse and a leg. And here's the hypotenuse, and here is the leg that I know for both triangles. All right, pause the video. Don't skip this step. Pause the video and go ahead and work the evens. See if you get them. Here are the answers for 2 through 6, the evens. Hopefully you got the same answers I did. All right, now we're going to be given some information, and we have to say what's missing in order to prove that these 2 triangles are congruent based on the triangle congruence theorems. And so for the first one, we have to have an angle, and a side. And so I can say for certain that this angle is congruent to this angle because they're vertical angles. So then I need another angle to prove that they are congruent, and let's say here, we need to know that T is congruent to L, so we can get angle, angle, side. So I'd have to know that angle T is congruent to angle L. For number 9, I want angle, side, angle. So I know that angle I is congruent to angle X. I know that these 2 angles are going to be congruent to each other because they're vertical. And so I need the side in between them. So I need to know that IJ, line segment IJ, is congruent to line segment XJ. And also remember, be careful that you're writing corresponding parts in the same order. So I couldn't say IJ and JX because those aren't corresponding. All right, again, pause the video, do 8 and 10, and then come back and check that you did them correctly. Don't skip this. So for number 8 and 10, you should have noticed that for number 8, you needed to know that 2 other sides were congruent, and then for number 10, that angle X is congruent to angle Y. All right, to practice this, what you're going to do is go to iExcel. You should already have J1 done. If you don't, you want to start there. So you have to have J1 done for a grade. The goal is 85%. And then K5 is the other one that I'm going to take for a grade, but if you're struggling, you can do K1 and K3, which breaks it down into smaller parts. Good. Good luck!